YouTube warbles on a lot here. There's a big anti-terrorist raid going on at the moment in Sydney and Brisbane. 600 police in New South Wales alone, and it's apparently connected to the arrest last week of two fellas in Logan because they were recruiting and fundraising for one of the rebel factions fighting against President Assad in Syria. My guess is because the United States Congress has just voted to arm and train the Free Syrian Army to fight against ISIS, there's been a bit of a hurry-up decision to conclude a long-running operation surveilling anybody who's been supporting any insurgent groups in Syria that they may have been supporting, and the idea is to get the arrests over with quickly before the insurgents in Syria become the official allies. Just at a guess.
Police are continuing to go in and out of this home, carrying items. I've seen them bring in and out computers and documents. They've also taken in a police sniffer dog. We understand that it's looking for possible explosives in this home. There's also forensic officers wandering around. And also they've taken all of the people that were inside this home and are currently questioning them in separate parts of the street that is blocked off by cars. At one end we've got an AFP car, and at the other we've got just a regular marked New South Wales police car.
And Lucy, when you say you understand they're looking for explosives, how do you understand that? Have the police been saying anything about the motivation behind this operation?
Police have not been saying anything, but the type of dog is being used is one of their explosive sniffer dogs.
So there's been no comment from the police so far at all about these raids?
Certainly not at the scene. We haven't had any comments. The police did put out a release this morning giving us the very basic information, just saying that it is a joint operation between the AFP and between state police. We also understand that a similar operation, but on a smaller scale, is also happening in Queensland at the moment.
And Lucy, we described it as the largest counter-terrorism operation in Australia's history, but are the police using that term, a counter-terrorism raids?
Yes, they are. They're using that exact term, and we understand that it's currently involving around 600 different officers from New South Wales, which is really an extraordinary amount. We also understand that it is involving information from both the AFP and ASIO as well as state police.
And how do you understand that it's from ASIO as well?
Our sources confirmed that to me.
And how many houses, do you know how many houses have been raided in Sydney and in Brisbane?
Look, at the moment we've only been told that it involves a dozen suburbs. Whether that means multiple homes in these suburbs, we're not entirely sure. Certainly I'm at a home now. Oh, we're just being moved along at the moment. I've just got to get out of this street at the moment, so I'm just walking as I talk. But we do understand, yes, that it involves, that a dozen people have been arrested so far in these raids, and that, yes, certainly a dozen Sydney suburbs have been targeted.
Okay, and these raids, obviously, the police have told us it's the largest counter-terrorism operation in Australia's history, quite high profile. When was the media made aware of these raids?
The media was made aware of the raids when the police put out a release this morning, I understand, and that was at around, I think it was about 5:15 this morning.
And has there been any move at all by the police to keep the cameras away?
Oh, look, no, there hasn't. We've even though there's just a truck going past me.
That's all right.
I'll just wait for that. Look, even though there is police blocking off this street, they've allowed us and our cameras up and down the entire street. So we've been pretty much standing across the road from this brick home and filming it all day, or morning, I should say.
All right, Lucy, I'll let you move on. Thank you so much for joining us.
No problem. Thank you.
Yeah, this is Lucy Carter on the scene there at Guildford in Sydney's west, outside one of the homes that's been raided. All we know really is from the police is that 12 homes have been raided, 600 police involved from Sydney, also AFP police, and Lucy told us their sources saying ASIO has also been contributing information that led to these raids. And arrests have been made, and Lucy just detailing us there what she saw being carried out of that home. It include computers, documents, and police sniffer dogs going in there. Police sniffer dogs, they believe, are the sort of dogs that they use when they're hunting for explosives. So police are not saying any more yet about the motivation for these raids. It's 8:09 on breakfast. Let's go to Paul Bongiorno now, who's been waiting patiently while politician after politician moved into the breakfast studio. Paul, hello there.
Good morning, Franchel.
Paul, the raids, as we've heard, not much detail yet, but arrests made. A lot of action in this counter-terrorism space suddenly, isn't there?
Yes, and I think the Australian public probably deserve to see some action. After, you remember, last week we raised the threat level from medium to high, which says that an attack is likely. We know that the now retired Director General of ASIO said there was a lot of chatter. It's clear that that chatter was going to issues like planning for attacks, and we have to link what we were told last week with these raids in Sydney and Brisbane. I also suspect we have to link them to the fact that today the Prime Minister and the Opposition Leader will be farewelling a contingent of our military personnel to go off to Iraq to keep us safer by fighting terrorism. I must say the link always seemed to me needed to be proved that by fighting terrorists in Iraq actually makes us safe here. It probably does down the track, but I think once you've got the level raised to high, we probably wanted to see some action here to make us safe here from any likely attack, and I think that's part of the strategy we're seeing today.
You're saying the strategy that these raids wouldn't have happened if we hadn't moved to high alert, or if these troops weren't being farewelled?
No, I'm saying that the raids, the timing of the raids on the same day as we say farewell to the troops, in my view, is more than coincidental. I'm not saying the raids wouldn't have happened, tomorrow or the day after. I'm just saying it does send a strong message to the Australian public that the fight, the war, if you like, against terror is not only in Iraq, but also right here at home. Something the Prime Minister, by the way, has been telling us, ASIO has been telling us, and that the Federal Opposition believe.
And also on the same day, in fact, as we're on air, Scott Morrison, the Immigration Minister, is on air too, announcing that the Operation Sovereign Borders veil of secrecy has been lifted, and the government now telling us 12 boats have been turned back this year. So far, we haven't been able to find out this information. It's basically been portrayed as victory at sea, I guess.
Yes, it's a multi-pronged propaganda offensive today, isn't it? It does seem that operational matters no longer need to be top secret all the time. And of course, as we always know, Scott Morrison, when he got around to it, would always tell us what he was up to. And it's good to see that he has. This does smack a little bit of mission accomplished. I'm sure that a majority of Australians would hope that that's right, that this is mission accomplished, and that perhaps the tough policies, many would say the cruel policies that have been so effective in stopping the boats may not need to be utilised, as often as they have in the last few months.
Speaking of mission accomplished, Paul, one of the tabloids has portrayed it as exactly that today. They've got Scott Morrison basically dressed up as George W. Bush aboard the aircraft carrier with that mission accomplished sign behind him. To the Iraq mission, Paul, we just heard from Labor's Shadow Foreign Affairs Minister Tanya Plibersek. Labor putting a few more lines around its support for this mission, including that it would cease immediately if the Iraqi government or forces engaged in unacceptable actions. And also, if the deployment lasts longer than a few weeks, the Prime Minister must come into Parliament every 3 months to provide updates. And still being pretty adamant that Labor's not keen on supporting a mission going into Syria because it's so complex, it's not clear who the authority, anyone giving authority inside Syria is. What did you make of those comments from Tanya Plibersek?
Historically, Labor has always been the most reluctant, or the more reluctant of the major parties to assign troops to battle, although when it had to in the national interest, it has done so. I think they have tapped into concerns within the broader public. The only published poll I've seen very recently was the Morgan poll, 54-46 in favour of us going into Iraq in the way that we are. There was an essential poll that showed 39-38, so split decision on whether we should be in fact arming the Peshmerga and others. So Australians are concerned, are anxious that this tactic, if you like, this strategy, that we were told that it would work and make us safer 11 years ago, and here we are going back in, and we do know from our 11-year or more, or 10-year involvement in Afghanistan that the results are always problematic, and that we do know that Australian blood is spilt.
Paul, we also heard Tony Plibersek.
Yep. And the really big news is Bronwyn Bishop has explained to Australian aid workers that Australia has zero capacity to evacuate people from West Africa if they go over there to assist in the fight against Ebola and contract the disease. And that's why Australia has told the World Health Organization and Médecins Sans Frontières that we would be willing to contribute $7.5 million toward the bank account for somebody else to spend on doing something to actually assist in fighting Ebola. And Médecins Sans Frontières said back to the Australian government, no thanks, we don't want your money. What we need right now is a military response with a transportable hospital. And Australia's answer to Médecins Sans Frontières was, well, we can't evacuate an Ebola patient back to Australia because we don't have the military capacity to conduct such airlifts. And at the same time as we're offering $7.5 million, which has been rejected in the Ebola crisis, we've just committed to $500 million a year to run around in the desert in Iraq and Syria, allowing the President of America to say that there will be no American boots on the ground because there will be Australian Special Air Service Regiment troops on the ground calling in the airstrikes of the Australian air pirates in the Super Hornets. So we're going to spend 1.4%. We've offered 1.4% of the money we've committed to going to war against the Islamic Caliphate of the Islamic State in Levant. Tony Abbott's priorities are certainly pugilistic. I guess that's why he got a boxing blue when he was a Rhodes Scholar. Warbles on a lot to YouTube. I've got a 15-minute upload limit apparently. Ciao.